The Spanish Inquisition, Trials and Persecution. Title: The Spanish Inquisition, Trials and Persecution. Introduction, 150 words. The Spanish Inquisition, which began in 1478 and continued for over 3 centuries, remains one of the most infamous episodes in European history. It was a religious tribunal established by Spanish monarchs, King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella I, with the aim of maintaining Catholic orthodoxy and rooting out heresy. Origins and purpose of the Inquisition, 200 words. The Spanish Inquisition was initiated to solidify religious and political power. Fueled by dogmatism and religious intolerance, it aimed to establish Catholic hegemony and eradicate any perceived aids to the faith. The Inquisition targeted conversos, or Jews who had converted to Christianity, along with Muslims and individuals suspected of secretly practicing their faiths. Its founding ration was the desire to ensure social stability, protect the unity of faith, and maintain the supremacy of Catholicism in the face of political, social, and theological upheavals. Methods and procedures, 350 words. The Inquisition's modus operandi can be roughly divided into 2 main parts: investigation and trial. Investigations commenced through the receipt of accusations, which could come from virtually anyone, including neighbors, acquaintances, or even family members with grudges. This system fostered an atmosphere of suspicion and distrust within Spanish society. Once an accusation was made, the accused individuals were often imprisoned without knowing the nature of the charges against them. They were then subjected to intense interrogation techniques, including psychological pressure, torture, and even the threat of public humiliation. These methods were employed to extract confessions and implicate others in the supposed crimes. The use of torture was widespread during this period, and its aim was not simply to extract information, but also to ensure the humiliation and powerlessness of the accused. During the trial phase, the accused were presented before a panel of inquisitors who decided their fate. These tribunals operated in secret, with limited defense rights granted to the accused. Courts relied heavily on hearsay and testimonies obtained through coercion or torture. The absence of proper legal protections for the accused meant that very few individuals were able to prove their innocence. Persecution and impact, 500 words. The persecution carried out by the Inquisition had profound and lasting consequences for both Spanish society and the individuals targeted. The first wave of persecution primarily targeted conversos, those of Jewish descent who had converted to Christianity. They were viewed with suspicion and subjected to stringent measures to ensure their conversion was genuine. Feeling increasingly isolated, many conversos sought to distance themselves from Judaism and actively embraced Catholicism. However, this did not guarantee their safety, as investigations and trials continued, often leading to imprisonment, confiscation of property, and even execution. Another group persecuted during this period was the Moriscos, Muslims who had also converted to Christianity. They faced discrimination and prejudice, frequently being accused of secretly practicing their former faith. As a result, many Moriscos were expelled, while others were forced to abandon their cultural and religious traditions to avoid persecution. The impact of the Spanish Inquisition on Spanish society was immense. Fear and mistrust permeated daily life, as individuals were incentivized to spy on one another and report any suspicious behavior to the inquisitors. Intellectual and cultural stagnation became the norm, as free thought and expression were ruthlessly suppressed. The Inquisition targeted scholars, writers, artists, and scientists. Driving many of them into exile. The atmosphere of oppression stifled creativity and innovation and contributed to Spain lagging behind other European nations during the Renaissance. Legacy and End of the Inquisition, 300 words. As the Enlightenment took hold in Western Europe, opposition to the Inquisition grew. Criticism from intellectuals, such as Voltaire and Montesquieu, played a significant role in exposing the arbitrary and oppressive practices of the Inquisition, eventually leading to its decline. By the late 18th century, the Spanish Inquisition was abolished, but by then, the damage had been done. The legacy of the Spanish Inquisition is still felt today. It showcases the dangers of religious extremism, intolerance, and unchecked power. The institution stained Spain's reputation, leaving a lasting scar on its history. Spanish Jews and their descendants, who were expelled or forcibly converted, continue to grapple with the lasting impact of the Inquisition on their cultural identities. The Spanish Inquisition, Trials and Persecution, Part 2. Methods of Resistance, 350 words. Despite the oppressive nature of the Spanish Inquisition, there were individuals who resisted and challenged its authority. Some conversos and moriscos, in an attempt to protect themselves and their families, secretly practiced their original faiths. They formed underground communities and networks to maintain their traditions and beliefs, while outwardly conforming to Catholicism. This resistance was risky, as discovery meant facing severe consequences, including imprisonment, torture, and death. Furthermore, there were those within Spanish society who openly criticized the Inquisition. Some intellectuals, scholars, and clergy members spoke out against the arbitrary nature of the trials and use of torture. They argued for the importance of intellectual freedom, the right to dissent, and the protection of human rights. These individuals published works and engaged in public debates, challenging the authority of the Inquisition and advocating for its reform or abolition. External pressures also played a role in bringing about the decline of the Inquisition. European nations, particularly Protestant ones, viewed the Inquisition as a threat to their own religious and political interests. They used diplomatic efforts and economic sanctions to pressure the Spanish monarchy into curbing the powers of the Inquisition. Additionally, international condemnation and ridicule from Enlightenment thinkers further undermined the legitimacy and credibility of the Inquisition. Enduring trauma, 500 words. The impact of the Spanish Inquisition extended far beyond the period of its existence. The trauma experienced by those who were persecuted and their descendants left a lasting scar on the collective memory and identity of the affected communities. For the conversos, the Inquisition shattered their sense of identity and belonging. Many faced a constant struggle to prove their loyalty to Catholicism while dealing with the suspicion and prejudice of others. The label of crypto-Jews followed them for generations, even after the Inquisition's abolition. This resulted in forced assimilation and a loss of cultural heritage, as conversos sought to distance themselves from their Jewish roots to avoid suspicion and further persecution. Moriscos who managed to survive or escape the Inquisition faced the difficult task of rebuilding their lives. Many settled in North Africa or other Muslim-majority regions, where they sought to revive either cultural and religious practices. However, the trauma of persecution and forced assimilation continue to haunt them and their descendants. The legacies of the Inquisition's discrimination and deep persecution are still present in the efforts of modern societies to recognize and address historical injustices. Spain itself experienced lasting consequences as a result of the Inquisition. The intellectual and cultural stagnation inflicted by the Inquisition hampered Spain's development, contributing to its decline as a major European power. The expulsion or forced conversion of talented individuals, such as scientists, writers, and artists, led to a brain drain and a loss of creative potential. Spain's international reputation suffered, as it became associated with religious extremism and intolerance. Modern Reflection and Reconciliation, 300 words. The Spanish Inquisition serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of religious fanaticism, intolerance, and the abuse of power. Its legacy prompts us to reflect on the ways in which these tendencies can still manifest in our societies today and strive for measures to prevent such abuses. Recognizing the historical injustices committed during the Inquisition, Spain has taken steps towards reconciliation and acknowledging the trauma inflicted on Jewish and Muslim communities.